Well, I'm back again, talking about some spiritual stuff. I'm going through all these different doctrines, right? All these different religious books. I got a bunch here. I showed off some last time I was on. And, these videos are just kind of me shooting I'm not really taking it too seriously. All my ideas and views aren't even well structured yet, because I'm kind of soaking it all in. And, there's so many works to go through. Blavatsky, I have Blavatsky's collected works. Now, granted, it doesn't include like the Secret Doctrine, or it's like a collection of her like articles and that she's written for magazines and what have you. And letters is a big one. Letters, and it's pretty interesting. The first one I think is her. It's like her chewing someone out. So I like that that's the first one. But yeah, it's really hard to tell what to believe in this life, because there's so many religions that play off of each other, and it's hard to determine what's what, like, and what's real, what isn't. I mean, we know, what was it, like the Greeks and Romans kind of had basically the same gods, and then the Celts kind of stole some gods from the, I'm gonna butcher this, it's either the Romans or the Greeks, probably the Romans. I probably butchered that, but basically, like, or maybe it was the Greek gods. Like they basically took the gods from other people and restructured them, and that's just how religion works. It's kind of taking these old stories. Catholicism is really famous for that, where it would take these pagan holidays or take these pagan gods and kind of twist them into a new Catholic form with the saints. Now, that's not all saints. A lot of saints are not, like Joan of Arc was a real person, and, unfortunately the church killed her, but then they made her a saint. I don't know. You guys killed her. I don't know what. I have respect for Catholics, by the way. I have respect for pretty much all these groups I talk about. It's very rare I don't have respect for one of these religious groups. I mean, maybe. The Hebrew Israelites are pretty rough to have respect for, but I met them once, and they did not make eye contact with me. They looked at me once, and then that was it. And then they talked to my buddy Jack about it, or about their beliefs. That's a whole thing. But anyway, so it's really hard to tell what's real, what isn't, what to believe. I've tried going back to the beginning with Hinduism, like, oh, well, maybe Hinduism can give me answers because that's one of the oldest religions. And it's like, well, at least one of the oldest religions with the most scripture and doctrines, if you will, that they have. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. But then it's like, well, maybe I'm thinking of it wrong. Maybe we should look at some of the more recent religions that were founded and see how they were made to kind of get an idea of how religion works, what it actually is, and all the semantics of it. And that also caused issues. I was mainly looking at the Baha'i faith and Mormonism, which I've really been going down the Mormon rabbit hole. I really like their theology and a lot of their beliefs. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, it's like, where to begin? Like, you have Jacob Boehme is one I recently found. I was getting, again, my buddy Jack a gift for, was it Christmas? I think it was Christmas. And, I got him Jacob Boehme because that was one of the guys he wanted to, read and research about. So I read a little through the book. It wasn't this one, it was a different one. And I was like, oh, like that's interesting. So he started out kind of poor, and then he had this like informational download after having an encounter with, I think it was an I don't want to butcher it. I think it was like an angelic being or something like that. But I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm new to this guy. I would even say even though I've been researching this stuff for like 3 or 4 years now. Like, I still am so new to this, all this religious stuff. It's hard to make heads or tails of it because I went into all this with the ancient astronaut idea, and I still have that. And that's actually, I'm going to show this book again. Eric Nansteel's book talks a lot about that, though he believes that the Nephilim, which is another topic I really like, he believes the Nephilim were a slave race created by the Anunnaki. But I don't know. It's hard to say what I agree with, what I don't. So I went into all this religious stuff with that in mind. But then as I researched more, it was like John Keel, Jacques Vallée. They were talking about ultra-terrestrials and how these extraterrestrials were actually local to our world. and they're just a part of nature, whatever that means. They don't even fully know what that means. Like it's something that's above us. Actually, the movie Mothman Prophecies goes into that. When they go to the guy who wrote the books, I don't even know if they call them ultra terrestrials in the movie. I think they do. I don't remember. But the main character goes to see him, and he talks about these beings, like we're like ants to them, or we're like roaches. We're like a little bug. It's like an ant trying to understand a human. It's like almost impossible. So if not impossible. But yeah, you got Jacob Boehme. Obviously the the Book of Mormon, and then the Christian, you got Christianity with the Holy Bible, but this is the King James because that's the one they like the most. But then you got out there stuff. Well, actually, before we get to out there, there's one more. Manuel Swedenborg, one of my favorites. Really love this guy's work. This really got me down a lot of rabbit holes. I remember hearing about his name for the first time in passing. I was talking about religions and cults with my buddy Jack. Again, I keep bringing him up. And he mentioned Swedenborg in passing. And I was like, wait. Sweden what? And he's like, oh, Manuel Swedenborg. And he said, oh, he saw angels, heaven and hell. And I was like, what? And for some reason, this stuck out, and it sent me down a rabbit hole. I actually got this book for free from the Glenview Church in Illinois. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting book. It's a very interesting book. This version's really nice because it has a, like the first 100 pages are an introduction, and they talk about the details of Swedenborg's beliefs about the afterlife, because this is his most famous book. And yeah, he's a very interesting fellow. And the Swedenborg Foundation is great. I have a lot of respect for them. But then you get into the crazier stuff. I wouldn't even say he's the craziest. Then you get into the crazy stuff. You get into Urantia. And this is very out there. Half of this book, a little more than half, is actually just about Jesus and his life. So Jesus is the main character of our server, if you will. And the rest of it is about how the universe functions and works. And then also this thing called the Lucifer Rebellion. Listen, Caligastia is basically the devil, but there also are Satan and Lucifer who worked under him. Because, what was it? Is Caligastia, I think he was our planetary prince. Oh my gosh, I gotta remember. Because it was Caligastia and Dalagastia, and they worked together. And then Satan and Lucifer, I believe, were under them. And they were all kind of running the show on Earth. But Earth, and I think our universe, was created by a creator's son, which was Jesus Christ Michael. And yes, it's the same Jesus. Interestingly enough, the guy who made, well, he didn't make Urantia, right? But compiled it, if you will, wrote stuff down. Sadler, and I'll go more into all these stories, with more subsequent videos. He was a Seventh-day Adventist. And it's interesting that they mix Jesus Christ and Michael the Archangel together, because that's what Seventh-day Adventists did. They mixed them together. And that was a very prominent Protestant view, was that they were the same character or same person. And then later on, a lot of Protestants kind of distanced themselves from that belief. But I found that interesting that that's in here. And I could see a lot of people using that as a talking point of, oh, well, see, he just copied. But there is a book, and I have it back there, about the Catholic Church in Urantia, and I'm sure that's a whole rabbit hole, because the way it describes the Trinity does kind of remind me of the Catholic Church, but I could be off again, because it does describe a more feminine aspect. I believe it's the Holy Spirit's feminine. Again, I'm a little rusty on all this, I'm getting into it, but there's a feminine aspect to God in Urantia, but that doesn't mean God's a female either. God is above us. It's more of that Greek philosophy idea of God, where it's this or like the Gnosticism, the monad, right? That's what this is like. And then you get like what I say is like the what was it? The what's the analogy? Crown of the crop? I don't know. It's the Oaspi. This is one insane book. This goes into, I mean, it's got pictures too, pictures that are a part of it, and it goes into a bunch of crazy stuff. Let me find something here I could show you. Oh yeah, this is more of the I don't want to break the book because this is a fragile book. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff in this book. Some crazy stuff. I believe it kind of talks down on Christianity at one point, and then like mainstream Christianity, and then God's name is not Jehovah, it's Jehovah. It's IH at the end. So Why? I don't know. Yeah, this is a whole rabbit hole, this OWASP stuff. And it's crazy that a dentist made this. This was made by a dentist. And he claimed that he was channeled through, or that not even really channeled, it was like he was possessed, and it was automatic writing. That's what it's called. Automatic writing is what happened with this. And through the automatic writing, he wrote the OWASP book complete with the pictures and everything. He doesn't really describe how he went through the pictures. Of course, he has like 4 or 5 different stories of how the book came to be. The first being an angel visited him, and then later editions removed the angel completely. Make of that what you will. And I think there was also something where like he made a bunch of people give up their stuff and then scammed them. So I mean, there's that. But it's interesting how OWASP, I would say, goes even further than Urantia in terms of how complex its theology gets, and how it even has its own runes. I'm not going to find it. It's too big of a book. But it even has its own runes in here. And it's like, man, for this guy to fake this, I mean, for him to come up with the runes, it's like, what? Like, just to scam people out of some of their money? It's like, this guy had to have been really researching. Here's some maps. There's a lot of cool pictures in here. But, like, this guy really had to be studying all these different religions, because it really does bring in a lot of concepts from, like, different religions. I think, like, Hinduism's a little in there, and, I don't know, just all these different religions are combined. Like, Urantia claims that, but really it is just an extension of the Abrahamic faith. OWASP is, like, picking from all these different religions and cramming them together and into something truly unique and special. And I really like the book. I think there's only like estimated 100 faithists in the world. That's what they call themselves, faithists. And that's actually in the book itself. And again, very interesting stuff. Do I believe it? I don't know how much of all of this I believe. But I mean, I have a book here. Again, like, you know, do I believe this? I don't know. I watch the guy on YouTube, and I have a lot of, there he is. But I have a lot of respect for him. But I mean, this is an out there theory, but I think it's interesting. I'm not going to say the name because he trademarked it. It's a little ominous in the beginning of the book. He says he trademarked it because he made it sound like other people were trying to use that name, so he had to use it first. And as far as I'm concerned, and he's admitted to this, he's not the first one to come up with that conspiracy. But I will say, even though that's a badass title, it's not entirely accurate. Reading through it, it really does sound like he's really saying jesters are demons, or the idea of jesters came from demons. Not really what the title is, but the title still goes hard, and I'm glad he used it. And there will be volume 2 coming out too, and I will read that as well. But yeah, that's just I don't know what this video is about. Just like, look at all this stuff, man. What am I to make of all this? What's real? What isn't? You know, this is why so many people just give up and don't even go into spirituality or all this religion stuff, and they give up on it. Why matter? Why does any of it matter? You know, a lot of people become secular atheists. It's easier. And, you know, honestly, with these religions, it's very hard, especially the Abrahamic faiths. You know, what about the people before Christ? You know, did they go to heaven or hell, or what happened with them? And that's a valid question. You know, what happened? And then they come up with all these excuses to explain, you know, how it makes sense. And it's tough. It's tough. And I don't know. And then obviously there's the Lady in White, Chris Bledsoe. I already talked about that. Saying she's the divine feminine, and then some Egyptian goddess. I keep forgetting. It starts with an E. I keep forgetting the name. And that's interesting of itself. I wonder if that even has ties to the Baha'i faith, where Baha'u'llah, while he was imprisoned, saw this maiden, this glowing maiden. And I wonder if that's the same entity as the divine feminine, the Lady in White that Chris Bledsoe encountered. It's very, very interesting stuff. And it's interesting also that the Baha'is try to combine all religions into one. It makes no sense. Their theology makes no sense. I'll say, all of the Baha'u'llah and Abdul-Baha, his son, all of their writings go hard. They go very hard. Like, I have the book. It's actually in the studio for the Channeling Chavez podcast I help with. But dude, those books, the quotes, you flip to any page, and it it goes hard, man. It gets you pumped. It makes you want to go outside and, like it's great. It's great. I love it. I love it. But then you look at the theology, and it's like they say like, oh well, I'm a Baha'i and I'm a Jew. I'm a Baha'i and I'm a Muslim. I'm a Baha'i and I'm a Christian. And it's like those have very different theologies. I mean, let's have one little snippet. The Talmud says that Jesus is burning an excrement, and we also know this from encyclopedias explaining the Talmud. So also outside of the Talmud, people, Jewish people talking about it. Anyway, it says Jesus is burning an excrement, and that he was like a magician, and then what? Mother Mary is a whore, is what it says, and it's like, well. And I know it's a dialogue between different rabbis and what have you. I get that, but it's like, how is that going to be compatible with Islam and Christianity? It's like I don't think that really blends well together. That's going to be a big no-no. What about and I read the Quran. The Quran talks about basically conquering other nations to convert them into Islam. Now, it does talk about letting the priests and rabbis continue their religious service, right? But ultimately, I mean, the goal is to convert the world to Islam. And it's like, well, that's not really going to blend well with Judaism or Christianity. That's kind of a no-go. It's just like, I don't think these religions, can they coexist? Yes. Obviously, we're existing in a world where they are coexisting right now. But like, for the end game of all these religions, it's like, I don't know if they can coexist. A lot of Christian sects look at Revelation in a symbolic form. I mean, there's even Presbyterian and other Christian commentary sets where they exclude Revelation because they don't even want to touch it. And actually, for most of Christian history, I believe it was Ehrman that talked about this. Revelation was always looked at as symbolic fully, not as any literal. But then you have, the Mormons. The Mormons believe that, the Jews have to go back to their homeland, and then once they're all there, they're going to start having these religious experiences that convince them, LDS is the true religion, and then, other stuff happens. And it's like, well, you have like your Orthodox that don't believe that we should be helping the modern day state. This is getting really political here. I didn't mean to make this so political. I'm sorry, guys. But basically, their views of like the end times and their views of Revelation, I should say more specifically, is very different between all these different denominations. And again, that's not denominations. That's not even talking about the difference between Christianity, Revelation, and Islam. And again, this is all the Abrahamic faiths I'm talking about. What about Urantia then? Let's go even further with the Baha'is. What about Urantia? Oaspi? What about all these? How would they connect to the Baha'i faith? And I mean, and then there's Hinduism. It's like, how does this all connect? And it's just something I can't really wrap my head on. And I run into issues, even though I am kind of doing similar to what the Baha'is are doing in the sense of looking at all these different religions, even Zoroastrianism. I went to a Zoroastrian conference at the Baha'i Temple in Chicago. Actually, I think it's just outside Chicago. That was a very good conference. But even then, it's like all these different religions. It's like, again, I do believe we can live peacefully together. There was pre-Sharia law, like Iran, and that was amazing. And I do think there could be more lenient or dare I say liberal versions of Islam that we can coexist with, and as for other religions as well. But it's hard, man. It's hard. There's so many theological differences between all these religions. How can they possibly coexist? And how can you say, like, can I actually say I'm Jewish and then also say I'm Muslim and then say I'm Hindu? It just seems pretty preachy to me. It seems like world PC, like fake utopian, dystopian, I suppose, right? Like it's painted in bright colors, bright and happy colors, But then you kind of peel away at it, and it's like, oh no, this is a train wreck. This is nightmare. Like I don't know what to do. And that's my issue with the Baha'i faith. And again, I have respect for Baha'is, and I've talked to many of them before. We even had one on the podcast, Channeling Chavez, and which was a great episode. But I just have an issue with their theology. Like again, I do believe you can find the truth between all these different religions. I think the truth is out there. But it's a matter of mixing them and finding the mix. And it's like, I just don't think the Baha'i is the base template to connect all the pieces. I think something like Ancient Aliens would be more reasonable because it's a cargo cult, It's that kind of concept. That could connect more. But this Baha'i is the base religion, and then all religions connect to Baha'i. It doesn't make sense. Oh, that's something I didn't even go into. Yeah. So then you have, again, like the Oaspi, you have Urantia, and then you have, Mormonism. And it's like, well, what about these religions now? Like now you have these religions, and if you go to the Baha'i Temple in Chicago, I'm just going to say Chicago, screw it. It doesn't mention Mormonism. It doesn't mention Urantia, Oaspi, all these other people in Swedenborg, although Swedenborg could be considered a Christian denomination. And it's like, well, what of them? What of them? How do they relate to Baha'u'llah? Because it talks about the five epochal, the 5 epochs. And it's like, well, what about these revelations? Are these just worthless? Again, these are very good questions, and I'm sure Baha'is have answers to these. But I would be curious as to how they view these as connecting. It's actually, I kind of already know the answer to that. It's just very loose. It's very loosey-goosey. They're not concerned with the contradictions. They would say semantics. But again, the points I brought up about like the differences between the Abrahamic faiths alone, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, these are very serious semantics, if you will. Like, yeah, I don't think they're going to let those slide. I think they are going to get caught up in the details, and it's inevitable. And that's what's been happening for centuries. There's so many differences between these faiths that it's like, it's just hard. It's hard. And then we haven't even gone into the entities themselves. So I kind of did last time, like, can you even trust them? And it's like, well, yes and no. And I know this channel eventually is going to be talking about these entities in detail. And then just other ramblings, because, I just like to ramble. But yeah, it's like, can you even trust Angel Moroni, the lady in white? Can you trust the maiden that Baha'u'llah saw? Can you trust the automatic typewriting, the sleeping subject at the Urantia, and the celestial beings, the numerous celestial beings that went through him? They don't like to use the word channeling for that, by the way. Can you trust Swedenborg seeing Jesus and then all these angels? What are these entities? What are they? Who are they? What do they want? They tell you what they want you to do, but what do they actually want? What's their end goal? And that's why I'm, even though this channel seems, I know how I have it advertised right now, it seems very pro-angel, pro-ascended master and all that, but I really do have questions for these like seraphic entities. I really am skeptical of their intentions. And, again, these entities, presuming they're all real and all these religions have base in them, they kind of helped make these doctrines, no? These religious texts, in a sense. I know people will say, well, fallibility, people wrote these texts. I get that. But, they did have a lot of input in these texts, right? That's the idea. So, especially in Swedenborg's case. So it's like all these contradictions between the religions, doesn't that hurt more than help? Wouldn't it be better if they just were kind of more open and honest about everything? That's where I kind of lean towards deception. But then, are there positive entities, negative entities? Is it all just a mix of they're just like humans, or are they humans themselves, like Swedenborg and I believe Mormonism hints at? I don't know. But these are all the questions we got to ask. We got to ask these questions, because if we don't, we're never going to know. I do believe spirituality exists, and even though we're going towards a more secular time in our history, I still think there's value in all of these books, and there's value in learning these different spiritualities. I think there's a reason why this stuff is never going to fully die. And, again, I've said this many times about like Swedenborg and all these different religions, like even if they're fake, like I'm very skeptical of like Urantia, very skeptical of, well, Swedenborg, I genuinely believe something happened, 100% for sure. It's just a matter of what did he actually see? Because he was an eclectic, many of these people were. And they were, he was a big Christian. So, of course, his stuff is going to be centered around Christ, and he also saw Christ, he claimed. But was it actually Christ? Was it actually angels he was seeing? Or what was it? It's hard to say. It's hard to say with all of this stuff. It's really hard to say. But, again, with all these different religions, it's hard to pinpoint what to believe, where to go with them. What should you listen to? What ethics and morals? Objective morality, that's a whole other rabbit hole we can go into. A lot of these religions have different ethics and morals, and that's going to be a stressful thing between these religions, Now, again, there's many commonalities. Like, there's many traits that these religions have and teachings where they have common ground. Like, there's many books written about like Buddhists and Hindus meeting Christians, and they actually find a lot of common ground. Maybe they have opposite conclusions, like Buddhists don't believe in a God at all, or many of them don't. Christians believe in like a true overarching God, the monad, Gnostics would call it. I forget Judaism. That one's a little trickier. That's because I've heard they don't even really believe in hell. It's just Sheol. But of course, hell translates to Sheol. That's a whole nightmare to talk about. I don't really know too much about. That's another religion I really got to do deep dive is Judaism, because all I really know is their views on like Christians. Because I don't know if you guys have seen. I don't want to get too political here, but there's a lot of videos of them spitting on Christians in Israel, and I was like, well, what's this about? And then I find out like, oh, it's because of it's probably because of the Talmud and some of the things it says, and it's like, okay, I kind of get it. But that's a whole rabbit hole. All of this is rabbit holes though, and it's really hard to get a grasp on what's accurate, what's not, what's real, what's not. But at the core of all these religions, it's always a seraphic or an angel entity. There's always this like glowing being, not even winged. Most of them are not winged. That's a misconception. I know we draw them as being winged beings, and Orthodox have many beautiful artwork depicting angels as being winged. But most of the time, they're not winged. They have no wings. They're just a glowing entity. And the Lady in White, the Moroni, and I'm trying to think. Swedenborg, I don't think Jesus was glowing in Swedenborg's vision. He actually saw toads and snakes when he first saw Jesus in London. But many of these seraphim, these angels, and I know I'm using the term seraphim very, very loosely here. They're described as being like glowing humans. And another commonality between a lot of them is they are described as blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And I'm sure this is where the concept of the alien Nordics comes from. But, what are the odds an alien's going to come here and look like a human? What's that about? And then that brings in the question, are they living in Hollow Earth or living in a different part of Earth, Antarctica? This is where we go off the rails. And actually, we probably were already off the rails looking at all these different religions. But I do, the one thing I really like about the Baha'i faith, though, even though I just kind of criticized it for 10 minutes about this, I do like that it tries to focus on the common ground these religions have rather than the differences. Again, I think the differences really destroy the Baha'i faith for me, personally. It's like, well, if you're going to have the Baha'i as the base of the religion and then have all these other religions kind of like the outskirts of it, these are different lessons we're supposed to learn throughout history. It's like, I just have a lot of issue with that. Like with Hinduism, that was mainly an Indian thing. That was in India, Yes, it did spread, but it was mainly in India. It's like, I would believe the apocryphal stuff if it was more global. Like this religion was global. Like Christianity's global right now. Like Hinduism, there was a time where that was the religion globally. And then it was eradicated or at least mostly destroyed. And then another religion took place. That I would understand it better. But the way the Baha'is have it framed right now, I just can't ascribe to it. I don't fully agree with it. But anyway, I do like how they try to bring these religions together by looking at the commonalities they have and the positive aspects these religions have and bring those together. That I really like, and I think that's really important. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and yes, Islam. There are a lot of positives. Like when I read the Quran, there was a lot. I wish I had a copy here. I don't, unfortunately. But there was a lot of positivity in the Quran. There was a lot of really nice parts, and there's even a part that says it's for everyone. It's not just for they say like it's not just for white or black. It's for every ethnicity. They specified that, and now unfortunately, I think all these religions. I can't think of one that doesn't that does condemn it, but unfortunately, I do think slavery is not really talked down upon in these religions. I can't think of one where it's explicit. I know Christians will say it is, but I don't think that's true. But I will say Christianity did play a huge part in ending slavery worldwide. I will admit to that. I mean, I've seen a lot online. Like, yeah, I will admit to that. But generally, if you read the books on their own, yeah, there's not really, it's not really saying like God says end slavery. It's like, well, it kind of leaves it a little vague for all these books. I can't speak for WASPy, though. I'll admit that. But anyway, these are just my rambling ons about different religions. Not a hate piece on the Baha'i faith, even though I talked about that. I'm just saying why I personally don't ascribe to it. But yeah. So I'm gonna try to make videos more regularly. I'm trying to read through a ton of books right now. I bought way too many books. I don't know if I should give some away, maybe to my local library or something. I don't know. I got too many books, dude. And this is like a small selection. I got a storage unit. I got a bunch of books downstairs. I'm a monster. I'm a monster when it comes to that. So I got to calm down. But I'm not going to calm down. I'm probably going to buy more books of Mormonism because that's actually the one that's interesting me the most right now. And I'll go more into that, because I know that's the one, I'm sure out of all these books, that's the one, like, you're including Mormonism, but what about the Book of Abraham? It's proof that he BS'd that. And to that I say, I think I mentioned this in the past video. He described missing time. Joseph Smith described missing time. That was not a thing until Betty and Barney Hill. No, I think it did happen before Betty and Barney Hill in like alien reports before then, but like it wasn't popularized until that happened. Like Joseph Smith would not have known. No one would have known about missing time back then. So, if he was writing a religion basically around aliens, it just makes no sense why that would be a detail that's in there. It makes no sense. And I found that little description is what convinced me, okay, maybe he did go through something. And then Helena Blavatsky, also said that Mormonism, she didn't believe in it, but she did believe that Joseph Smith was a medium or like a spiritual man. Like there was something behind Joseph Smith himself. It's just maybe he got carried away. And of course with the polygamy, yeah, I think we can agree to that. I remember watching a Mormon video where they were ranking all the prophets. And it was from like S tier to D or F or whatever. It's I'm sure you've seen these videos before. And this Mormon rates Joseph Smith in the lowest tier. I was like, what? He's the one who founded your religion, and he even says like, yeah, I know he founded it, but he did do some bad things. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I think Brigham Young was pretty low too, but Brigham Young, oh my gosh, dude. I actually have a book on him too. Oh my gosh, again, we got a lot to talk about. And obviously with Mormonism, I went to Nauvoo recently. I'll be talking more about that, but I don't know, this video, again, it's just me kind of shooting it and talking about all these different books I'm reading, all these different religions and religious people I'm looking into. yeah, I just find this topic very interesting. And eventually I will go into these different angel orders, because I'm very interested in that between all these different religions. Like I'm interested in what Judaism views these different angels, seraphim, versus how Christianity views them. I think Wendigoon has a really good video on the different angel groupings. And then you have, or Urantia. Urantia is the deepest one. I can't wait to talk about seraphic transports. That's going to be exciting. I'll give you a little, like the wings of angels. It's described in the Urantia book that the wings of angels, they don't have wings. It's actually this like force field thing that goes around them, that looks like wings but isn't. And then these beings like fly throughout the universe. It's out there stuff. I'm sure the Mormons would love that stuff if they read it. But anyway, these are the random ramblings of a madman, and I'm sure I'm only going to get crazier. We're just starting up here, taking it real nice and slow. I wanted to start this back in January, but it just never went anywhere, because I'm trying to make videos reminiscent of, I don't know if you've seen Aredin, a very big Christian YouTuber, and I even follow, give money on Patreon. I really liked his content. And then he started getting really out there. He made a video on like Black Jesus and Tataria, and I was like, oh, okay, we're really going there, huh? We're really going there. I don't agree with a lot of Aredin's beliefs, but I love his framework for his videos, and I love the passion he has towards the topics and the respect and reverence. For Christians that believe what he believes, he's a great source. But he does delete a lot of his videos, or unlist a lot of them. Like he had one talking about how Mormons view Bigfoot, which is a video I want to make, actually. No, but it's not just about Mormons. It also is really just about Bigfoot. It's just going to briefly talk about the Mormon Bigfoot. And, it's a shame he's unlisted a lot of these videos. And I'm sure it's because his beliefs, just like everyone else's, are changing. He keeps changing his thumbnails, the way they look. But anyway, I want to make videos kind of like his. And then I also want to make videos a little different than that, a little different format. I want to toy around with the formats first. But otherwise, I'm just going to do lowbrow videos like this until I get it all fixed up. I'm going to see what I can put on the wall back there. I have a poster signed by Bob Gimlin. Maybe not the best time to put it up. I know there's a lot of controversy around the PG film. I'm still going to frame it. I'm still going to put it up. Again, when I bought that years ago, I already assumed like, okay, well, even if it's fake, it's still a great piece of Sasquatch history, and it's the face of Bigfoot, the PG film walk that Hattie has, where she is, everyone knows that. The movie Elf parodied it. What was it? Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of movies that parodied it to death, and for good reason. Signs had it, but that wasn't as a parody. They just kind of copied it. The jump scare, the big jump scare that traumatized children, traumatized me as a kid. But yeah, I want to put that up. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I'll be back sooner rather than later, and we'll talk more about these different religions, spiritualities, because there's a lot of good in all of them. And yeah, that's the video.